Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here. It's Thursday, so we're doing a Thursday think tank. And last year on Thursday think tanks, we would take players that would become available or be talked about moving from other teams, and we'd analyze the fit with the team, with our team, whether they would fit. Like last year, we talked about DeAndre Ayton, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell. These were all names that were on the trade market or free agency market last year, and we wanted to assess whether it made sense to have these players on our team. And well, I'd like to do the same thing today with Dillon Brooks, since there's been such a turn of events with apparently what they're saying about him not coming back under any circumstances. This is really strange and weird, but it makes sense that they would not ask him back because of certain reasons after 6 years of being there, but very unclassy. A lot of people calling out the Grizzlies organization for this, but we're finding out more and more that it wasn't really the Grizzlies that said it this way. It was actually Shams. Shams is really to blame for the wordage of what was happening. Dillon Brooks's agent, Mike George, is calling out Shams for his under no circumstance report, saying that Shams is the leader of spreading false news and attacking players. Why any player in this league talks to this guy blows my mind. Hashtag weirdo. So he's the agent of Dillon Brooks is blaming Shams for the verbiage of the report, saying under no circumstance at all. And he's mad at him. Obviously, this isn't good. I don't think that it fits. The Grizzlies would do it either, because why would they tank his value? In some ways, as people have put it, his the best they can do with him is sign and trade. So if by doing a report like that, it doesn't help anything with his value, and it doesn't serve them. So in some ways, Shams is hurting Dillon Brooks and hurting the Grizzlies. And is it because he had the audacity to call out and come after the great LeBron James? Is Shams some sort of LeBron James like, and he's controlling some weird things with that? I don't know. I think that it's true that it's like a lot of what's happening with Dillon Brooks recently is just that people have this really crazy thing about LeBron. We saw last summer when Scotty made an offhand comment about a LeBron fan at the Pro Am, one of the Pro-Ams or this last summer, he got attacked by LeBron fans majorly. They came after him like they thought he was insulting LeBron, where he wasn't insulting LeBron. He was insulting the guy who liked LeBron. He wasn't insulting LeBron himself, but there was enough of a misunderstanding that LeBron stands came after Scotty. Well, this is maybe part of the phenomena, is that there's a huge body of people that really are defensive and protective of LeBron James. And in these situations with Dillon Brooks, well, they're throwing their weight around in clout in different places. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You know, there's a misconception right now that Dillon Brooks will not play in the NBA next season. A lot of people are putting out crazy memes about him having to learn Chinese and get ready to go play for these teams over there. Y'all are crazy and stupid. You do not understand how good Dillon Brooks is, and that there's many, many other teams in the NBA that are going to pick him up. In fact, I'm hearing chatter from many different fan nations about acquiring Dillon Brooks possibly for their team. You know, Raptors fans are not totally against it. I would love to hear y'all's opinions. Each and every one of y'all that are in the chat with me today, how do you feel about Dillon Brooks being on the Toronto Raptors? You can be as specific as you want. You could just say no, no, or you could just say cool. Yeah, I like that. You know, we'll talk about the different reasons why it doesn't work and the different reasons why it could work, maybe. But for the most part, I'm going to tell you right now, myself, I don't know if it'll work because there's certain things about it that just doesn't make sense. But yeah, let's find out from y'all. Let's see what's in the comments first right now. MSJ is here first today. Hey, Lex. FYI, AOC and Getz are working to stop insider trading in Congress. That is fantastic news. I did know that AOC was on this, but of course, she's going to need bipartisan support. And the gross Matt Getz on the other side of the aisle will be helping her with this. Well, then I may have a little bit more admiration for him if they get any traction on this. I know that AOC has been very critical of longtime Senator Dianne Feinstein of California recently, and she is notorious for the insider trading on Congress. She is one of the worst ones at it. There's a lot of Republicans that do it for sure, but there are Democrats doing it also. And that's why they protect it and try and stop anybody from coming after them. Well, that's why we need young progressive like AOC in their fighting to get this changed. So good job. And if they get anything done, you guys are my heroes, because this is a mess in the United States government. Also, MSJ saying, anyways, Brooks would be an odd fit in Toronto. And I think that this is exactly right. In some ways, we have a glut of people at his position. We don't really need him for a weakness or a need. The only thing I could maybe characterize as something that he could fill a need for is that attitude and swagger. But otherwise, his shooting is not going to help us. His defensive ability is okay and great. He's actually a very good defender. But do we really need more of that? We have people like OG and Scotty and Pascal. So it's almost like one of his biggest strengths is something that we have a glut of a lot on our team. So in some ways, he isn't really a good fit, because it's not an upgrade to Gary Trent, if you ask me right now. If we're going to switch Gary Trent for Dillon Brooks, that's not an upgrade. I'm sorry, that is not an upgrade. And, this is what we're looking at is fit. Well, Gary's a better fit than Dillon. So if we got to choose between Gary Trent Jr. or Dillon Brooks, I'm going with Trent Jr. for sure. Mike's here. Good to see Logical Raptors Fanatic. Salute the real ones. Project Truth always. Check out Logical Raptors Fanatics YouTube channel. Always good content there. Naco the Nacho in to say hi this morning. Brooks just kind of seems like older discount OG basketball wise. Older, well, they're the same age. They're not any older or younger than each other. They're the same place in their careers. I'm pretty sure he's had 6 years with the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a long time with one team. And that's why it's like, that's not classy. If you're going to say under no circumstances or burn a bridge like that, Grizzlies, if that's a true report and it's not Shams writing it, that's not very nice. And that's why old pros are coming after the Grizzlies, like Steven Jackson, saying that you can't treat a player like that. That is just wrong. And saying something like that in the way that they did. I think you're right. In some ways, the defensive stuff is the most attractive thing about Dillon Brooks. Is that dog. It's that get after it. It's that I'm going to be in your face, annoying you all night kind of thing. That is some of his best stuff, because his shooting can't be relied on. It's not like we can expect this guy to just be money on threes all the time. Sure, he's going to have certain games where he's just on fire and he's killing it and he's making scores. A couple of years ago, he averaged 18 points per game in the NBA. That is not easy to do, and that means you have to do a certain amount of scoring. But in some ways, this year was more about the circus and the sideshow with Dillon Brooks than actually like being a contributor, like in a major way offensively. Is really more about like smoke and mirrors of like confusion and attitude and talking trash and gesticulations and craziness on the court. That was more his thing. And in some ways, that's not good. I mean, a little bit of that's pretty good, but not a lot of it. And then the other thing I was thinking about with him that may not be good for him to be on Toronto is for him to be like that, the way he is. It's good for him to have a teammate that is a badass, somebody who's absolutely crazy good that can kind of back him up on the court. Like Ja Morant was a little bit like that. But, there's teams like if he came here, we may not like his like trash talk, because in some ways we don't need extra pressure to try and make up for him talking trash. If we had a guy on our team that was absolutely going crazy and taking over and could back Dillon's trash talk up like consistently. I know we do have guys that will do it and can do it from time to time, but I'm talking about all the time, like with a reputation that is kind of precedes them. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to listen to Dillon talk, but we have to look out for so-and-so on the Raptors because they're going to back up what he's saying. In some ways, we can't cash the checks that he might write with his mouth as a franchise right now. So it may be very stupid to get somebody like him on our team when we don't need added pressure on our guys to perform because this guy's John at LeBron. So yeah, that's another reason why I would be like hesitant to bring him to Toronto in particular. One team that makes sense, and I'm hearing a lot of noise about, is Dallas, that he could end up being on the Dallas Mavericks next year. And with Kyrie and Luca, that makes sense. He could talk a lot of trash with both those guys on his team because those guys could back it up in certain ways for sure. So, the Dallas fans are kind of actually really clamoring to get Dillon Brooks for their team right now. And that is actually a really good fit. If Dillon Brooks ended up on the Dallas Mavericks, that would make sense to me. That really would. Let's see. Smooth's here. Good to see Smooth Brown. Man, OG's already playing the position is much better. Exactly. What do we need Dillon Brooks? We've got OG Anunoby. This is like the same position. You're exactly right. A much better player, a more consistent player, a player that's very quiet and likes to just let his play do the talking and not his mouth. Troy Henry saying, to be honest, I don't mind having Dillon Brooks on the Raptors because he has a dog in mindset, and we need that. It just didn't work out for him with the Lakers. He'll come back around and be more rounded. Yeah, I mean, this is really the most attractive thing about him is his attitude and mindset could really rub off on guys and give them a little bit more of a swagger, a little bit more of like a confidence in some ways. I don't know if he instills confidence. That's what I'm wondering with the other guys. What is it that he would add? I mean, I like some of the things he does, and it could really help us because it does seem like we lack some of the things that he has. Sure. But can we get it in a smaller dose, maybe from somebody else? Instead of like the most notorious Dennis Rodman villain in the league right now, because in some ways we're already a villain team. Do we want to add more to our villain factor by having Dillon Brooks running around on our team? And then we have to talk about the issues with him being from Toronto also. That could be an issue, seriously. Delano does a really good job handling being from Toronto on our team because he very much, when he became a rookie for us 2 years ago, set up rules in his life about Rexdale and his NBA life. And he kind of cut off a whole lot of people around him just to focus on the team and being on the team on the Raptors. Because in some ways you can get distracted real quick when your old high school buddies and all your old family friends and everybody's around you all the time. And that would be a concern with Dillon Brooks, having grown up here in Mississauga and Toronto area, that the distractions of friends and family could be a problem with him because of his such a history in our area. And there may be some bad people that he used to know that he doesn't need to be reacquainted with. So, there's a few. I think there's more concerns with putting Dillon Brooks on the Raptors than like actual good pluses that would come from it. The more I think about it, because like honestly, our biggest need this summer is offense. Why the fuck would we go get somebody who doesn't play offense very well to our team? We need more offense, not a guy who's going to be worse for our offense, because in some ways he really will be worse for our offense. Let's see. Lumpy Rex is here. Let's see what Lumpy's saying. I agree with you, Lex. The LeBron sexuals are toxic as heck. No doubt LeBron is hitting Dillon mafia style. Well, they just see somebody come after their anointed all icon god of the NBA, and they get really upset. It becomes like a hornet's nest where you like pat it. Oh, no, they're all stirred up and swarming after you now and chasing you around. Yeah, that is a little bit of what's happened here. It's funny because Dillon is weird because he took off. He's absent. He didn't really feel the brunt of it. He got fined $25,000 for skipping the press media stuff at the end of the series with the Lakers. And, rightfully so, because that's what they do. They fine people for not showing up when he should have been there to eat his words and take the humiliation with the press. He decided instead of humiliation, I'll just pay $25,000 and I'll just run home without a shower. This is true. There's a clout with LeBron James that is very protective of him, and they will come after you. They will come after you. Lumpy knows about these people and that phenomena. He's seen it all over social media. Guardian Transit's here. Good morning, Guardian Transit. Good to see you. I think if Brooks's contract could be had by mid-level, it might just be okay. He brings good defense and grit. He's just one of those pesky players. Yeah, he's one of those guys you don't like playing against, but if he's on your team, you feel good about it. But in some ways, we don't need one of those kind of guys like Patrick Beverley or Dillon Brooks because we need offense. If there's one thing we really, really need, and we're going to get wings and shooters, we need shooters for guards and wings. And we don't need somebody who's not going to add to our three-point field goal percentage going up. That may be one of the most important things is this player adding them going to help our 3-point percentage go up? That may be one of the most important things that Bobby and Masai are thinking about when acquiring anybody new this summer is, are they going to help our 3-point shots? And in some ways, he might a little bit, but his 3-point shooting hasn't been horribly good. Let me see what his career 3-point percentage is in the NBA is 34%. We'd really like it to be over 40 or like over 35 at least. But he's a 34% 3-point shooter. Last year, he shot 33%. So he shot even lower last year. So, yeah, in some ways, he's not going to help our 3-point shooting. No, he won't. He will not. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. He is being made a scapegoat. I love that JJ Redick defended him. If he doesn't mind coming off the bench, bring him home to Toronto. He would adjust some of the language. There you go. There's an idea by Cool Cat. If he's okay coming off the bench as a specialty kind of like backup guard, dog kind of attitude kind of guy, maybe he even comes in with a unit with Chris Boucher, and we have the pairing of the Oregon Ducks, Swole Duck, Slim Duck, matched up together on the same squad, coming out there, going out there together with Precious and kicking butt off the team. So Cool Cat's saying if we can get a good deal on him, the price is all right. He could come off the bench. He could be very useful. I think that's about the role that would have to be. It's not going to start for us, that's for sure. We already have a murky starting lineup kind of situation, and he wouldn't help the whole situation as far as like if he really wanted to start and he was kind of being like an asshole about it. I wouldn't be cool with that. But I also, yeah, you're right. JJ Redick very passionately denouncing the things that have happened to Dillon Brooks recently, and rightfully so. In some ways, as we've made Nick Nurse a scapegoat, Memphis is really trying to scapegoat Dillon Brooks for a lot of the problems this year. Whereas, like a lot of people are saying, this is not just him. You got to think about all the culture that's been happening around Memphis in the last couple of years. Ja hopefully can fix his life and get things going so that he doesn't have any more pitfalls or kind of problems possibly. That'll help. But there may be other problems with this team other than just Dillon Brooks and his swagger. The injuries were a big part of why the Grizzlies had the year that they had to. Steven Adams' injury is such a huge, huge thing that happened this season too. So, I mean, in some ways, I don't even know if it's actually a problem, like his swagger and stuff like that. And I don't even know if they need to be scapegoated. Y'all are playing the Lakers with one of the greatest players of all time, one of the tallest, most talented players right now. And, losing to the Lakers in the first round, especially if the NBA is kind of helping you and your main player has a hurt wrist and like is in and out of the lineup during the series and your starting center isn't there. What do you expect, Grizzlies Nation? You expect that, this is a fight. You're playing LeBron James and the Lakers, and you're not at full strength. It may be very hard to get past them. So in some ways, I'm kind of mad that the NBA is playing the blame game like crazy these days, or maybe fan nations are, whether it's Milwaukee, Memphis, or us, that everybody feels like we have to blame people for if the season doesn't go exactly right and dump all the responsibility on one person, like Nick Nurse or Mike Budenholzer or Dillon Brooks. And that's folly. That's stupid. It's not like one person is the whole reason why the team was mid the whole year or didn't get past the first round. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy thinking. I like your ideas of how he could work on our team, and that's about how it could work. He'd have to definitely come off the bench, and maybe he'd have to adjust some of his language. I don't know. We wouldn't want him to cause us trouble. That's the thing. He may cause us a side of trouble and a side of good stuff from how he acts. And that trouble may be more than the good stuff. And that is not a net gain for our team. If the talking, the trash talking is not good and it's more a distraction and it's not really having the effect on the players, the rest of the team that we'd like. It could even be that some of the guys on our team don't like his personality. So Chris is close with him, Chris Boucher, but there may be other guys on the team who are like, Dillon Brooks is stupid and he's kind of fucking up our team right now. So there may be a risk with that in some ways. I know that he's very well liked in the Grizzlies locker room and that there's no problems with him and the other Grizzlies players. That's not the issue here, that he probably is a good teammate and they wouldn't have problems with him. But really on the down low, it would just take somebody like Fred or Pascal to say, he's fucking distraction. He's not actually helping things. And then there's kind of annoying, and you don't want them around after that. Randolph is saying, beloved Raptors freaks and most informative gang. Blessings on you and your loved ones. Appreciate that, Randolph. And right back at you and all your loved ones also. I approve of Brooks being on our team. We need the junkyard dog mentality. We just need to help him control himself. I don't know. These kind of personalities like Dennis from back in the day, Dennis Rodman, you couldn't really control him. You didn't know exactly what he was going to do. I mean, Phil Jackson could somewhat kind of like say, Dennis, don't go and do that. Don't kick the cameraman's groin or, stuff like you could don't headbutt the other player, stuff like that. Maybe you could say that, but if he's already done it, you're in trouble. That's the problem with those kind of guys. You don't know what they could do at any moment. And you could try and contain them or control them, but can you really? Can you really? So here's another vote saying bring them in because we just need more of the spirit. We just need more of the fight. We just need more of that attitude, a little more pep and anger and get up for the game. Dillon Brooks brings. That's what Randolph Phillips is saying. Okay, I'm hearing a lot of positive things about him being on the Raptors. I wasn't sure. So I knew some people would be say hard pass. Some people would say, you know what, I don't know. And some people are saying, yes, he would be a good fit and we'd like him to come here. That's very interesting. Isaac Campbell saying, sign me up for the Dillon Brooks train. Guy is passionate. Is that a problem? What do the Raptors need to stop streaking? More passion. Wow. So Isaac Campbell's all about the passion of Dillon Brooks, that he really fucking cares, that he is going to get other people to care too, hopefully, because he gets them fired up. He could actually really be an interesting influence on Scotty, that if he came here and he was playing alongside Scotty, maybe rub off on him a little bit. We see Scotty has a little bit of tendencies for trash talking and getting in people's faces and a little bit of taunting. Well, could that be that he is that kind of leader for Scotty and Scotty becomes a little bit more like Dillon Brooks just because Dillon Brooks is around? We'd have to worry about that just in case, or be very happy about that. I don't know. Because in some ways, the powers of Scotty physically as a player are much greater than Dillon Brooks. But if you give a little bit of that Dillon Brooks dog attitude that Randolph Phillips is just talking about, and you put it in Scotty Barnes, woo, that could be a really good combination of the player with that kind of mindset who has the skill set to really back it up. That he could write some checks with his mouth and then boom, he can back them up with his play. That could be something with Scotty that, I don't know if we want that influence. He's probably already influenced by guys like this. And who knows? All right, let's see. Fiercely saying, morning, fam. Brooks has a dog mentality, which we need. We're too nice. I don't want to say they're pushovers, but I've seen glimpses of softness. His shooting abilities are not that great, though. Yeah, he won't help us in that department, but he'll definitely help us with having an edge. But that's what I'm saying. Some of the guys on our team, I don't know if the personality would mesh. We've really had a team that's kind of like, other than Kyle, for the most part, there's not really kind of these guys that are really have an attitude or could be a problem in those kind of ways. We've just got character dudes, and to our own detriment to a way. So do we overcompensate and go get a guy like Dillon Brooks, who's very much the very end of the spectrum of these kind of dudes? Well, how would it work? What kind of thing would happen with this? What would Bobby and Masai predict if you add Dillon Brooks to the Toronto Raptors roster? What kind of effects would he have on us? Like, they may be looking at it as like, well, we may get more technicals. We may get more technicals or something like that. Who knows? But it seems like a lot of the common threads with you guys is that you like his mentality, his dog mentality, his attitude, and that we lack it on our team. And that we're desperate and we want that more of that attitude. Well, we go get Dillon Brooks. So that's interesting. This is an interesting development. In fact, I'm detecting that you guys are much more positive about him being on the Raptors than negative about him being on the Raptors. And it's really interesting. A lot of you are standing up for him, like Cool Cat talking about JJ Redick and the different things about like this whole messed up thing. Like if Shams really is the whole reason why that verbiage came out under no circumstances, and in some ways, he needs to be really checked. Like they need to come talk to him about how he's doing his job and to maybe not sensationalize things or, put his own slant on things. This is a real problem these days. Even the verbiage for when Nick Nurse was fired was kind of questioned. Some people are saying, oh, he's fired, or, people will say he's let go, and they really dissect it. Well, this is why journalists still need to have journalistic integrity, because the way you write a sentence can really frame it in a totally different way than the actual reality of the situation. So it's like, go back to journalism school 101, Shams, and listen to what Memphis actually said and report it. Now, if that's exactly what they said and you're sticking to your guns, well, shame on you, Memphis, for reporting and saying it in that kind of lingo and that phrasing. Let's see. Smooth saying DB is good. It's that it's a no fit. Unless a trade is made to fit him into the roster, he needs to start or be a six man. Anything else, and he's wasted. This is probably right. Listen, he could have came and showed up last year, and he wouldn't have gotten a play. Nick Nurse would have just ignored him and left him at the end of the bench, just like a lot of other guys. You know what? I think you're right. I think that I'm kind of with Smooth on this one. Is that he's a good player. He'd be great in certain ways, but he's not a fit for our team. He's just not a fit for what we need. He's not a fit positionally where we need somebody like him. And so, some ways, I say pass, because a lot of our team will be retention. We have retention on our team like we did last year. We only have a few spots we're going to flip and bring new players in. Well, we want to make sure they're players moving in the direction towards some of the stuff that we need better at. And really, the number one priority is shooting. We need better shooters. So if we're going to flip a player out of our roster, out of our lineup, they better for damn sure be a good shooter and not a downgrade. And in some ways, he's a downgrade as a shooter from even some of the other guys that we have on our team. So, and it's in some ways, would you rather have Joe Wieskamp or Dillon Brooks? In some ways, I would much rather have Joe Wieskamp for this Toronto Raptors team because of his skill set and what he brings. So that says a lot right there. A guy who's been G League, barely in the league, just barely, we value him more in our situation because of his three-point shooting power. And Dillon doesn't have the same kind of three-point shooting as Joe Wieskamp. So in some ways, he's a much more valuable player to us than Dillon Brooks is. So it's not that he's a bad player, and he will definitely be playing in the NBA next year. People that think he's getting shipped off to the Shanghai Sharks, bullshit. This guy is a commodity in this league, and even if they got sullied by Shams, he will find a team next year. Watch, he will. There's somebody out there that'll take him for sure. Nako's saying he isn't older. I guess that facial hair threw me off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the same age. Dillon is 27, so he is just slightly older than OG. OG's like 26, but they came in the same year. That's the important thing, Nako, is that I'm pretty sure they played the same amount of years. Let me just look at OG real quick. OG is 25. You're right. He's 2 years older than OG, but OG's played 6 seasons and Dillon's played 6 seasons. I'm not going by their age. I'm going by how many years in the league. Just so you know, Gerald, that's what I'm saying. They're the same because they're not the same age. Dillon's older, but they both played 6 years in the league. That's why I said they're the same. Mike's saying, I think if Dillon Brooks came here, it would be based on the new coach and being able to handle him. I think the new coach will shape which players we add. This is really astute and probably exactly right in the way it should be. In fact, in some ways, we may be putting on hold any other moves or ideas about what we're going to do until we get the new head coach in place and we know who they are, because they may very much want to have a hand in shaping the roster this summer with Masai and Bobby and what they may help them the best. Like I said, there could be a coach that comes in and says, if you give me these two guys from the free agency, I'll make this team a winner. Yeah, just go get me so-and-so and so-and-so, add them to the team and watch the magic happen. We'll make it happen. Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. I think you're exactly right, though, Mike. And that makes total sense. Have the coach involved if you're going to go get new players so they can know whether they're good with them or not. Seymour saying, I will take Dillon Brooks over Gary Trent Jr. any day. Really? Really? I don't know. In some ways, Gary is on that scale of dog. There's a certain gumption and attitude to him that is similar to Dillon, if not as so overt. There's a certain kind of level of cockiness and attitude with Gary Trent Jr., which is valuable. I don't know. I'll respectfully disagree with you, Sheriff, just because, Gary Trent Jr. is such a better shooter and just more dependable with, he finds different ways to shoot. than Dillon. Dillon, in some ways, needs other people to help him to get his shot open, whereas Gary is very good at making his own shots and getting open himself without anybody's help. So, and that's a skill we need more than Dillon in some ways. But you know what? You guys can think that too. It's fine. G saying, since Kyle and Serge have left, in my opinion, the team has become softer. I want Dillon Brooks. I think he is probably humbled now and think he would be great to Scotty in a way. Also, him and Boucher are good friends. Yeah, that's another thing we need to talk about is that the friendship of Chris and Dillon would help smooth things over. I mean, it could be that Chris very much gives him the lay of the land and says, Dillon, you're coming in here, I just want you to know this is how we run things. And that could help him having a best friend that's already here that has the lay of the land and understands the landscape here in Toronto with our team. We don't want him to step on any toes. We want him to be a good teammate. We don't want him to piss. Like, what is the fact? Like, let's think about this. What is the chances of Dillon Brooks pissing off Fred VanVleet? How about that? Let's think about that. Is there going to be some sort of way that Dillon Brooks does some fucked up shit in the game or something behind the scenes that's going to piss off Fred VanVleet? I would worry about that because we know Fred's no nonsense. He's a mature guy. He's very grown up. And maybe some of the off-court theatrics or some of the stuff that he does may really get under Fred's nerves. I could see that. I could very much see them not having a personality conflict in some ways. I really could. I don't know if he's humbled. I don't know if he's humbled, G. I think that this whole situation with LeBron and everything that's happened is may make him even more emboldened. Who knows? He may come back next season and be even crazier, Dillon Brooks. We don't know. We don't know. In some ways, he's getting more attention, and that may be more attractive to him to get more and more attention just because he's so absurd and wild and crazy with his statements and trash talk. So he may be emboldened because all of a sudden he's more in the forefront. He's okay with being called that villain. He's going to play it up. He may really play the role even harder next year. And that may be a problem. That could be a problem if he turns it up even another notch. Like the Spinal Tap base, the monitor, he turns it up to 11 or something all of a sudden. Who knows? I do think that he would be good for Scotty in some ways. I do agree with that. I think that he could really give him an interesting edge to his mindset in some ways, and maybe even give him more swagger or motivation. That could be very well true. Same thing for Precious. There could be some effect on that. Seymour saying DB phone home. He wants him to phone home to Mississauga, the 905, and come on back over the border to Canada, to your homeland, Dillon. That's what these Raptor freaks want, apparently. They have the green light on for you to come back and play for Toronto. I'm not hearing rejection. I'm not hearing, hell no. I'm not hearing, we don't need that knuckleheaded energy. No, I'm hearing we may need it. And we would maybe be okay with you coming here. That's what I'm finding out from the think tank this morning. Actually, very surprised. I didn't actually know what y'all were going to say. I know some of y'all were going to say no hard pass, like somebody did last night. And I get it. I'm totally with you. But some of you are very much really for it and enthusiastically for it. I like to see that. All right, let's see. Fiercey is saying also, hang on, it jumped ahead, of course. Scotty is the one that shows more fire, but at least he's way more respectful in his trash talk. It's all game. That's what I'm saying. Now, do we want him to go in the direction of Dillon Brooks' trash talk or just keep it his own flavor? Because he may have a little bit of an influence on how he trash talks if he's around Dillon Brooks for extended time. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, I don't know what we'll see. Will we see him here or not? Monique is saying, good morning, everyone. Love Dillon's antics. Laugh out loud. I'm meh about Dillon, but his toughness is there. We are stacked enough. There we go. All right. Monique is kind of where I'm at with this. I mean, I love Dillon too. I want to see his antics in the league, but I don't know if I want to see them on my team. That in some ways he's entertaining and he's fun to watch and root for as a Canadian in the league. But at also the same time, do I want his baggage and the things that he brings on my particular team, the Toronto Raptors? I don't know. I don't know if I do, honestly, because in some ways this league is not cut out for him, and he will have, he makes enemies. That's not good. We don't need more enemies in some ways. We don't need it, make it harder on the Raptors to get a championship. And in some ways, Dillon Brooks may make it harder for us to get a championship just because of certain things like intangibles. hate, things like that. I don't know. I think I'm with Monique. I mean, I respect the player, but in some ways, we're stacked enough with what he brings. We don't need his skills, particular. We need his attitude, but we don't need his defensive skills. We don't really need his offense at all. So in some ways, if you don't need his defense or offense, you just need his character. Well, what the fuck? That's why you get people like Thad Young or get other people that are at the end of the bench. You don't get a young guy who's actually good to play still right now, but you don't play him because he's like, I don't know. I think I'm with Monique. I can kind of understand what she's saying here. She likes him, respects him, but he's not a good fit for us. We're stacked enough. Isaac's saying more OG like players is a winning formula. Better defense equals less scoring required. He guards the best players, yet comparing him or anyone to LeBron is a lost cause. In some ways, I'd rather I think OG's a way better defender than him, but I do understand his energy and his get up and go is very attractive, and he is all over the place on people. Very annoying, very tenacious, and very in their face. And that's good, but in some ways, he's not a 6'9" guy either. That's the other thing. He's a little bit smaller than Bobby Webster's Vision 6'9". He's a 6'6" guy. So he'd be a little smaller. And in some ways, we'd rather have OG in that spot. I'm just saying, he's not an upgrade over OG. And why do we need somebody if we got OG? That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. Seymour saying, when LeBum cooked OG a few years back, we didn't dog OG. Look at OG today. Great player. Dillon Brooks will improve in our system. Well, maybe. I don't know. It depends on who the new coach is. If it was Nick Nurse, I'd be like, I don't know if he'll improve. But if it's a new coach and it's somebody that would work well with him, then that could be true. He could be one of these players that's there's this there's a criticism of the young players right now that a lot of them are just really young and talented and they're really good and they don't work any harder. They don't add things to their game. Like in some ways, Dillon Brooks could be working on new things to make his game even better in the offseason. Is he one of those guys that does that? Or has he just been coasting on who he has been all along with his talent? Is he developing further skills like a DeMar DeRozan does? That's something I would question and wonder. When you look at his career stats, they have a little bit of an arc coming up from his first couple years, but in some ways he's trending down already from like a couple years ago. He had a really, really good season 2 years ago, but now he's kind of he's a little bit trending down with how he's playing recently. Let's see. G saying Boucher, Precious, Dillon, Doughton. Very interesting to me, like as a backup team. Yeah, as the bench mob. It's an interesting team. I don't know. I don't think he's worth it to me. In fact, I don't know what the money's going to be. One thing that happened with Dillon this season is the Memphis Grizzlies came to him early in the season and tried to restructure his contract so he wouldn't be a free agent right now. They were going back and forth, and the numbers weren't lining up. They were wanting to give him something. He wanted way higher, and they're just like, no. So they tabled the talks, and they quit talking to him about fixing his contract to get him to continue here. And then the way the season went, they're just like, fuck him. We don't want him here. So he's maybe asking for some crazy number. That may be part of the problem too, is that he was asking for more than they wanted to give him last season. And that's part of the reason why they're at this point, and he's probably going to leave, is that he did not go well in the negotiations with the number not lining up. So it may be that he does want to get paid, and that's another thing. We don't want to pay him a bunch of money when he's not worth it. So that's another reason why I would probably stay away from him. Let's see. Nameless is saying people thought Kyle Lowry's personality was a risk and a gamble. Well, look what happened when he was able to channel his energy positively. That's interesting to say. A young player from Memphis, Kyle Lowry, who played for the Grizzlies early in his career, something similar. Is that the kind of thing? Like, what year was it Kyle turned around and matured and turned his dog into something very powerful in the way he played? I don't know. Maybe it was about 5 or 6 years into his career. So maybe this is about the right timeline, nameless, for Dillon Brooks. I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath and expect it. That's part of the problem, is you don't know. And this guy could be just like Chris says, this is just who he is. He's always been this dude. When I met him, he was this guy, and he's just got to be him. And he's not going to change in certain ways. But who knows? You could be right. He could channel it in a better way so that he has some sort of effect like Kyle Lowry did in his career. Who knows? I don't know if he's the same kind of player as Kyle, though, in some ways. I don't know. Oh, this is tough. I'm glad y'all are figuring it out with me. Seymour's saying, so Ja beat up a 17-year-old wave guns, but Dillon has to go. He's toxic with comments to LeBron. People getting dumber and dumber. Well, it's like somebody said, who are they going to get rid of, Ja Morant or Dillon Brooks? Obviously, Ja Morant is the franchise player, and he can get away with way more just because of his talent and just because of who he is and what he does flying through the air like he does. So it's not fair. You're right. And yeah, scapegoating Dillon looks stupid when you talk about Ja Morant in his year this past year. I don't think anybody should be scapegoating anybody in Memphis. This is just the normal ups and downs of an NBA team, and you guys just happen to go out in the first round. This shit happens. And even characterizing teams like M.A. Adoka did as like, oh, they're a first round exit. They're only a fifth seed. They can only get higher. Bullshit. The NBA has parity now, and we're seeing the lower seeds beating the higher seeds this year like crazy. And that should happen more in the near future and in years to come. So I think this is bullshit as far as like, characterizing teams as just being first round exits or fifth seeds and no higher. Nah, that's the old NBA. The new NBA is you can have a young upstart that doesn't have as good of a record and they can upset a higher seeded team. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw this time, in this playoff. So I hate that whole idea of like labeling a team like, oh, you're just first round exit team year after year. Well, that may be this year the Grizzlies is a first round exit team, but that doesn't mean they will be next year. They have different levels. Not everybody is the Leafs in some ways. But go Leafs, go. Let's win tonight, baby. Yeah, let's go. All right, let's keep going. Isaac is saying, or wait, hang on. G saying, nameless. Kyle had that toxic dog attitude, which turned into leadership. Not comparing them exactly, but Dillon's energy can be channeled to be helpful. It can be helpful, definitely, but it's a risk. It's very risky. And in some ways, we're taking on a lot of risk for next season already by not knowing who our head coach is and whether they're going to fit with us. Do we need to add a stick of dynamite into the mix of trying to mesh everybody together and be on the same page when we had a really bad time connecting last season? We're going to have a new coach you got to get used to. And then you're going to have Dillon Brooks hanging around too. That may be too much. That may be too much to try and come through and figure out. And so, like in the way that we need to. That may be too much. That may be rocking the boat too much. And that's another reason why I'd much rather worry about making the coach fit and the culture fit with the coach than getting Dillon Brooks and having an experiment with him, because he could add worse things to the experiment. And maybe, what, we get Becky Hammond and we get Dillon Brooks and there's problems there. We don't want to piss off Becky Hammond if she does actually take this job, because we got Dillon Brooks also. I think it's true, like what Mike said. It's like the coach is really going to have a big say on what we do with moves with Masai and Bobby this summer. And it could very well be that the new coach of the Raptors is like, fuck no, we don't want Dillon Brooks here. No, we don't. All right, let's see. Isaac's saying, as a person, I like to think about others first. On the basketball court, I don't play the nice guy. You don't win by being passive in basketball. Raptors need to bring the fight, even if it's uncomfortable. Well, can we do it at a different level? Do we have to go full tilt to Dillon Brooks level? Can we find a happy medium? Is that Patrick Beverly? I don't know. Can we have something like a little bit, maybe less like on the forefront and the cutting edge of villains in the NBA than Dillon Brooks? Is there somebody else that maybe a little bit different level of dog and attitude that will fit and won't be, and maybe a little bit more veteran, like I said, Patrick Beverly, that will actually, like, not him specifically. We can get different guy that's kind of like him. But that's what I'm wondering. Is like we can add this kind of mentality to our team without adding Dillon Brooks. There's other guys in the league that may be able to give it to us and actually give us shooting also. That's the other thing. Like, is there a special player that's got that dog attitude and mentality, but also hits threes? That may be more attractive in some ways. Let's see. G is saying, imagine Brooks when we play Embiid in the Sixers. I want to see him being a pest. Now, you brought up the Sixers. The Sixers losing game 2 to the Celtics last night. Big time. Big time. Jason Tatum didn't even have a big game. Joel Embiid came back. And as I said, the Sixers may be worse with Joel Embiid in the lineup than they are without him. And I was right. It looked like it last night. Holy crap, they didn't look good last night. And this is crazy. In some ways, the Sixers had not lost in the postseason until last night. They went 5 straight, sweeping the first round and winning the first game against Boston. Well, they've lost their first postseason game last night in an ugly way. Sometimes the Sixers just don't have it. And this was one of those cases. And it's not even like the Celtics. They had a balanced attack, but it was Brown and Brogdon and White and Smart and no Jason Tatum. They didn't even have to lean on Jason Tatum to help them with this game last night. And it was a blowout. It wasn't even close. So yeah, Joe Mazzulla after the game baiting the media to ask him, well, aren't you going to ask me what the adjustments I made to make this happen? Because he's been taking a lot of crap for not coaching well. In fact, Marcus Smart has said we don't really have an offense. We just do things randomly, and that when it works out, I'm like, this sounds like the Raptors offense. They just do things randomly and hope that they'll work together and it'll all work out. That sounds like Nick Nurse's offense from last year. Joe Mazzulla's offense, according to Marcus Smart. But yeah, interesting game last night. Crazy. You'd think the Sixers would be better with the MVP of the league, but not last night. They weren't. No, they weren't. Seymour saying, I will never turn my back on a fellow Canadian, 100% Maple Leafs. Well, I get behind that too. And I do want more Canadians on this team. I just don't know if this is the right Canadian, old swole duck. Fiercely saying Scotty can back up his trash talking, not Dillon, a.k.a. Mr. Poke the Wrong Bear. That's the thing. Do we want to put more pressure on Scotty because Dillon is out there talking shit? And maybe Scotty feels like he has to back him up, and then there's more pressure on Scott all of a sudden just because it checks being written by Dillon Brooks' mouth. In some ways, that is not something we want to do, put Scott in that kind of position. He may not, want to step up and fill it for him because he's kind of like, just shut up, bro. You're not making things easier. Who knows? MSJ saying, I agree. We need a shooter more than anything. That should be the focus, shooting and nothing much more. We need to improve our three-point shooting and our shooting overall. And Dillon Brooks is not going to help that. And that may be the biggest problem with this whole thing, is that we got to improve our shooting. Well, he's not a good shooter. He's known as not one of the good shooters in the league. He gets streak shooter. He can get going pretty good. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Seymour's saying it right there. Okay, see, he likes him. He doesn't want to turn his back on a fellow Canadian, but he's saying Wieskamp over Brooks. He's like, stop. Whoa, stop. He's telling me, no, whoa. Well, we don't know. Joe Weezy actually gets utilized in the right way. He's a taller Matt Thomas. He can come out there and bomb like 3 or 4 threes in like a 5-10 minute period. I'm all about that. That could possibly be Joe Wieskamp next year, that he's hitting like 3 or 4 threes in 10-minute spans, getting us like 12, 15 points really quickly. I want this to happen with Joe Weezy. I know he has it in him. I know he can do it. That's what I'm saying. Are you saying stop? No, don't say that. Or are you saying, okay? Don't get it. That's a confusing emoticon, Seymour, because it's green, like a green light, but he's holding his hand out like he's stopping somebody. So it's like it's a oxymoron. It's like stop, green light, stop, green light. I'm like, what are we playing? Green light, go, like red light, green light, red light. You remember that game when we were little? Oh my gosh. Troy Henry saying main reason I want to see him out there is to get back and prove himself. He didn't do anything wrong besides make the playoffs interesting. You telling me that's not acceptable? I'm all with you on that. I'm not against Dillon Brooks, and I love what he did. I love that he talked trash to him. In fact, I think that he's doing it because he's from Mississauga, and he was a kid that grew up in Toronto when LeBronto years were happening. In some ways, he is a villain to us. And Dillon may be thinking he's a villain because of the years with LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers and Toronto Raptors. That, in some ways he's getting get back for our hometown here in Toronto. And I'm all about that. I'm very much about that. But in some ways he's more effective at getting that get back against LeBron in the Western Conference than not playing over here in the Atlantic Division with the Toronto Raptors. If he went to the Dallas Mavericks, and he's on a team with the Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and Kyrie was just told by the Lakers he cannot come to the Lakers this next year. They are not interested in him, pairing him up with LeBron. That has come out of the press. Well, maybe they have some chips on their shoulder, Luka, Kyrie, and Dillon Brooks, and they can exact that revenge that Dillon Brooks wants to get on LeBron James in the playoffs next year much easier with the Dallas Mavericks playing better in those kind of ways. So he has more of a chance out west than with us to avenge against LeBron just because of the nature of the playoffs, East versus West. We wouldn't be able to get the revenge against LeBron until the finals. So let him go to the Western team. Stay in the West, Dillon, and then get your payback against LeBron next season on a top Western team. How about that? That's how I look at it right there. Let's see. I'm with you. I wanted him to get revenge for Toronto against LeBronto for sure. Let's see. Nameless is saying also, hang on. All right. Masai said we need to shake things up drastically. Dillon Brooks is one way to do it with the team chemistry and image around the league. It's risky. It's just risky. I'm telling you, there's a lot more risk with Dillon Brooks than just surface level. I mean, like I said, there's the issues with him being from Toronto. There's the issues of him being a fit. We got to worry about already got to worry about a new coach and whether that's going to take and work out. In some ways, you don't want to have too many X factors that could cause things to go awry. And he's definitely that kind of person that could cause things to go to awry, even if he didn't mean to or he didn't have an intention of it. He could do a knuckleheaded thing and it could cause things to go to awry. So it's tough. I mean, I get what y'all are saying. In some ways, this last season was so disappointing. You guys are desperate to do like crazy stuff to change our team to get it better. But I don't know. This is crazy, y'all. Y'all are really kind of trying to talk me into Dillon Brooks. But in some ways, I'm still saying no. I'm saying no. No, me personally, I'll say no. But if you guys are okay with it and it happens, well, I'll trust in Messiah and we'll build it up in the right way. But right now, I'm saying stay away. Stay away, Bobby. Stay away. This guy's too hot a commodity in villainry right now that we don't need the villainry around our team like this. We already wear the black jerseys. You know, the other day, Chris Boucher was asked about the jerseys, the Raptors jerseys. Do you like the Raptors jerseys? And he said, I love them. He's like, I wouldn't change anything about them. He was like, Mike Roach was saying, what would you change about the Raptors jersey? He said, nothing. I love the Raptors jerseys. So you get a ringing endorsement for these cool jerseys that the Raptors wear from Chris Boucher on Hustle Play Podcast. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Fiercely saying, if elite trash talker plus rubbish defender Pat Bev can get picked up after numerous waivers, Dillon Brooks will definitely be picked up. Exactly. It's just that LeBronites want to see him shipped to China, shipped to the moon for his incendiary words towards their GOAT. And, it doesn't work that way, y'all. Just because you think he's not going to be around, watch. He'll be around. There's teams that will find value in him, and he will get signed to a team. Ahmet saying, it's a parade inside my city. Oh, you guys are having a parade over there in Israel right now. Okay, Ahmet, enjoy yourself over there, parading around over there. Nameless is saying 6'7" guard who feels slighted. Bring him on home. Everybody, I'm really surprised you guys are full on. Is it because of the cool picture I used for this stream? That crazy Cat Williams hair, the glasses, the big DB chain, and him standing in the audience, like looking so like a 70s, like crazy pimp. I'm going to come and slap you in the face and get my hoe kind of look to him. Is it because he looks cool in the picture? Is that why y'all want him here? I don't know what's going on here. David's saying, Pascal for Jalen Green sold. Yikes. I hate that deal. In some ways, I get what you're saying. You could reunite Scotty with Jalen. They're best friends. That could be interesting synergy. And Jalen is one of the least knuckleheaded of the young Houston Rockets. But I hate that deal. For some reason, I really hate that deal. I think you need to come with more than Jalen Green for Pascal Siakam at this point. That, the money, first of all, won't line up. So Houston, you better maybe send Alperen Sengun too. Maybe Jalen Green and him. They won't do that. Watch. They won't do that. Pascal going to play for Ime Udoka? I don't know. David, that's a weird one. That's a very weird one. You're sold on it though. G saying, imagine someone trying to go at Pascal and OG and Dillon not having it in his own way, different styles and way. Okay. I can see that as being fun and good in some ways, G. I could see that as being, something positive to have on our team is that kind of thing, that get up and go back at somebody. All right. That makes sense. Trevor's saying, good morning. Boston looking like Boston last night, beating Philadelphia. It's on Twitter's lead to shooter. It's back in Boston, helping them out. Lethal shooters back there. Okay. In Boston, helping them out with the 3-point shots. We need him on the Raptors. Well, he's a freelance. I'm sure that, he'd be very expensive, and it's not in his interest to be tied to just one team. He wants to have clients on all teams. So he's just kind of floats around and goes from team to team and just kind of shows up. He was with us for a little while this season, with the Raptors for a bit. But if he's smart and he's a businessman, it's not smart for him to just take a contract and travel with the team. He should be floating around and getting premium paid for short times instead, and for all the teams. And I get it. I mean, they're in the playoffs right now. They need him. They wanted him to come in and work with them on the 3-point shooting. Well, there you go. It's very interesting that that in some ways the game last night was a battle between the floppy joes and the 3-pointers. Because, listen, they shot 51 threes last night, the Celtics, and that's a big, huge reason why they won. 20 of 51 from the field for three, 39%. Meanwhile, only 6 of 30 for the Sixers. So that's 6 3-pointers to 20 3-pointers made by the Celtics. So how the hell? Well, the Sixers are getting to the line with their floppy joes and James Harden stuff. They're getting 18 free throws between the two of them, 23 free throws shot for the Sixers. Meanwhile, the Celtics only got 16 free throws. Some of the free throw discrepancies have been really weird, like this season. Very, very weird this playoff season. But yeah, it was like free throws versus 3-pointers. 3-pointers win. That's who wins. There you go. Let's see. Amit's saying 15 more days till my birthday, 1 month and 24 days till I come to Canada. I get to see my grandparents, my old friends, and go to Global Jam. I also get to see my great grandmother. So excited. Man, you're just on cloud 9. This man's having a parade in his hometown, and he's got so much to look forward to. You go, Amit the GOAT, coming back to Canada to hang out and go to Global Jam and see all your family. That's going to be such a fun, happy time. Savor it and stay in the moment and really, really keep your memories from this. All right. This is going to be a great trip for you, and you can have so many good memories from it. Stay present and soak it all in. Don't be on the phone too much. Don't try and record everything. Sit there and watch it and feel it and remember it forever. That's what I'm saying. Randolph saying, Alex, do a poll to see the number for or against. I'm for his tough aggressiveness. Our team would be different next year. Bring the man home if the price is right. I wish I could do a poll, but I have not unlocked polls on my channel yet. Maybe I can do a poll. Let me see real quick. I thought I couldn't. Maybe I can do an outside poll on the outside. And basically what I'll do is community. I bet it's in community if I can do a poll. Yeah, there is a poll. All right, hang on. I'm going to do this. We're going to do for Dillon on Raptors and against Dillon on Raptors. Against Dillon on Raptors. Okay, and so Raptor Freaks, what do you think? And I'll post it in the community on the channel, and y'all can go find it. I just posted a poll as at the behest of Randolph Phillips, and you guys can come here and just check what you think. I'm against it, so I'm going to mark against. It won't let me mark. I can't vote. You guys can only vote. I'm not allowed to vote because I made the poll. All right, so yeah, there's a poll there, and we'll check it at the end of the thing. Go into the community section of my channel, and you'll see a poll where all the pictures are that I post in there and stuff like that. All right, good idea, Randolph. We'll see if we get some answers and see how it goes. Nameless is saying, David S., I was thinking about that all day yesterday, and I think I'm with you. But let's be real, Masai will not be targeting Brooks. It's just fun to speculate. Yeah, I listen, we got enough dumpster fires right now with our team. Do we need a possible another dumpster fire coming in? That really is a big part of this. We need stability. We need cohesiveness. We need connectiveness. We need our guys to play better together. And in some ways, he may not be an ingredient that helps us with that. He could make it even worse. So it's too much risk in some ways and not enough reward. That's the other thing. If I'm gauging it from like risk reward probabilities, he's such a risky guy to get. And in some ways, what if he plays at the absolute highest level for us, like the reward isn't even that good either. So the risk reward to me isn't good enough to take the risk. Let's see. Cool Cat saying another factor, Raptor Freak. We protect our own from being unfairly mistreated. Trash talk is fine in the sport. I hate the pylon. We can help him clean up a bit and trade him after. Could be. But is this the timing of doing it? In some ways, I would question the timing of where we're at as a franchise to help him out. That's very benevolent and kind of us, but at our own detriment? No, that doesn't make sense from Masai. It'd be nice to help him out and try and get his character better and his standing in the league. But in some ways, does he really want that? Is that actually going to be a goal of his? I think he's going to lean more into being a villain and being that character. In some ways, the NBA will love him for it because they want villains in this league too, along with the heroes. So I don't know. I don't know if that it's worth it for us to try and help him, because in some ways we need to help ourselves. That's a priority right now. Mugarbe's here. Morning, Raptor Freaks. Good morning to you, Mr. Lennon. Always good to see you in the chat. May Thompson's here. Always here in the morning, 9:30 a.m. talking Raptors, May. So please join us again. Brooks and OG together can shut down any offense. Ooh, I like the sounds of that. All right, another plus kind of defender in the mix. We definitely got good defenders on our team, and he would just add more to our strength and make us even more defensively crazy. Well, that is attractive in some ways, but is it what we really need right now? We have a strength in defense. It's not that we lack good defenders. It's really that we lack good offenders. We lack good offenders. That's funny. Good to see you, May, though. I hope you'll join us again. David's saying at Nameless, yeah, no chance Messiah's getting Brooks. Seems like too much trouble, not enough talent. The risk reward is just too much. Like, it's too risky. It's just too damn risky. It could be a slam dunk. It could be fine. Everything would be fine. But the case that it could go wrong, yes, it could go wrong also. I'm saying I'd rather pay Draymond $28 million, pay Dillon Brooks $20 million. I mean, we don't even want to pay him around that much. If that's how much money it takes to get Dillon Brooks, I don't want to go near him if it's $20 million a year. Fuck that. That's in some cases I'm like saying pay people what they're worth. But in this case, I don't want to invest that much of the Raptors salary cap in Dillon Brooks when he's not necessary. That's another part of it. Do we want to unnecessarily spend money on a player that's duplicitous with a lot of what we got other than the attitude? It's like, it doesn't make any sense financially in some ways. Cool Cat saying using him as a scapegoat is not right, though. He will get picked up from other teams, no doubt. Fix the issue with others on the team. We repaired our GROAT reputation, so we can do it for our own. Yeah. I listen, he is unfairly getting scapegoated, but it's because he's the villain everybody wants to hate right now. He's the hater, the villain that you love to hate. And that's a lot of what's going on with this phenomenon right now. And in some ways, he's spurring it on. He's enjoying it. He wants this because his notoriety, no publicity, bad publicity is good publicity. All publicity is good. That kind of stuff going on. Isaac saying OG, Brooks, Siakam, and Scotty. Hang on, it jumped. Hang on. OG, Brooks, Siakam, and Scotty together would be dangerous. If you cannot find offense around this rotation, then the core needs to change. Adding a plus one offensive star is not going to impact enough for money. Interesting. Yeah, there should be offense in that lineup for sure. I mean, who's the point guard? You put Fred in there too, right? Fred, OG, Brooks, Siakam, and Scotty. I don't know. See, I don't know what the price tag is. Like I said, he asked for way more money than Memphis wanted to give him, and they got an impasse. And that's part of the reason why he's leaving Memphis right now. So it may be that he's knocked a little bit off his pedestal at this point. Maybe his values declined. Maybe he's not going to get as much as he thought he'd get last fall. Now, because of changes and things, how they went in the season, it could be that he's cheaper now. But who knows? He may be crazy, and it may be some sort of crazy idea of what he should be getting paid. And that may be part of the problem also, is that he's the kind of guy that really wants to get a huge payday. And it may be not smart to overpay for Dillon Brooks when we don't really need him. Once again, don't really need him. Ahmed saying DeLangelis Brookers. You're doing like the LeBronto with with Dillon Brooks' name. That's funny. Mike saying, not gonna lie, maybe that's what we need though. The guy that starts the fight, then that activates the whole squad into fight mode. that guy with the loud mouth, and gets the squad into battle more. I mean, I can't disagree with this. This could be true. But man, I'm really surprised at how pro Dillon Brooks the stream is today. I really expected at least one or two people saying, hell no, but nobody said that. Everybody's saying we're okay with it, we're open to it. And some of you are really fighting and pushing for it. So I'm very shocked. I thought that this would be a very different stream today. I thought there was going to be a lot of hell no, no way, we don't want these problems. But that is not what I'm hearing at all. And that's very interesting to me. That is very interesting to me. We're good Canadians. We welcome back our good Canadian guy. Scott B's here. Good to see Scott B. Dillon Brooks is Canadian, and the Grizzlies threw him under the bus. Yeah. Make no mistakes. The Grizzlies season is on Ja, not Dillon. And fuck LeBron. He will never be the GOAT. Just hang on around. Stay patting. Scott B, very strong opinions. I can get behind them. I have no problem with what he's saying here at all. And it's all pretty accurate to me. Fiercely saying that explains why the Celtics shot freaking 60 3-pointers yesterday. Laugh out loud. Lethal shooter. Yeah, lethal shooter was around them, I guess, is what I'm hearing from Trevor. Nameless is saying, I think if Masai pulls away from the Fred VanVleet Pascal timeline to match Scotty's, who's better than with a player such as Jalen Green? Well, Nameless, I get it. And like right now, there's a real problem in the league with young players that aren't fundamentally good. And Jalen Green is one of those guys, and that's why I don't like him. I don't want him on the Raptors because he didn't learn the game right. He doesn't play it correctly. And this is going to be one of the biggest problems with the NBA going forward is the things that the old heads are saying, that the youngsters don't play smart. They play flashy. They play for athleticism. They play for dunks. They play for highlights. They play for stat lines. They don't play the game correctly to win. They don't play the game correctly to have the highest percent shot. Like the Jordan Poole 28-footer that fucking was a horrible shot in that last second. They could have gotten a better shot. There's all kinds of situations where the intelligence of basketball players is lacking compared to the athleticism of basketball players. And if you ask me in the future, the athleticism is not the total key to winning. In fact, it may be more crucial to have the intelligence to winning than the athleticism. The athleticism is plentiful. There's tons of great athletes around the NBA, but how many of them are smart and play the game the right way, the old way, to game the game inside the game to win the game? Like I was saying with Isaiah Thomas, going after people in foul trouble to get them out of the game. This guy has 4 fouls. You're directing your offense at him and going at him. There's just not enough cerebralness in the game at this point. And in some ways, Jalen Green epitomizes this whole problem with what's happening in the NBA and the trends with this. And that's why I'm not interested in him. Me personally, you guys can like the pairing of the friendship of Scotty and Jalen Green, and that is attractive for that. But other than that, I'm not interested in him. I really am not. I'm not interested in him. In some ways, he's an undersized guard. In some ways, he's got a lot of like deficiencies. In some ways, he's not a good defender. So there's a lot to it than just his dunks, his highlights, his offense. There's a lot of other issues I have with him other than that. So I'm not interested in him. Me personally, I'm not interested in him, Nameless. No offense. I'm sorry, my paisan. I'm sorry, my good friend. Monique is saying, when did Wojnarowski report this? Raptors will be hiring largely new assistant coaching staffs with a arrival of new head coach. Did see this out there or writing stuff up? Monique, I don't exactly understand what you're saying, but I did see this. I did see that they were saying that there's rumors that we're firing most of our coaches, that there's going to be a heavy turnover with our coaching staff. And that makes total sense. We should. That was the epicenter of the problems for our team. We need to change our coaching staff. And also, if we're going to have a new head coach, they're going to want to have their own people in. So they're going to want to bring, like Stackhouse will want to bring in his guys. Becky Hammond will want to bring in their people to be in charge. That makes sense. Now, some of the more like coaches that are more foundational, people that are not necessarily as part as Nick Regime as a head coach, people like Jim Sand, Jamal McGlure, Rico Hines, hopefully, will be here still. Like I'm predicting that those 3 guys will be on the staff still next year, Jamal, Jim Sand, and Rico Hines. But the rest of them, I'm pretty sure are going to be gone, including Trevor Gleason, Earl Watson, obviously Nate Bjorngren, and maybe even guys like John Goodwillie, John Carbascio. A lot of those guys may not be around either. I bet you they'll interview each one of them and kind of see, well, is this person going to fit? And then they're going to have to hire the new coach. And the new coach is going to be like, yeah, I don't want this person on my staff, possibly. They could be, yeah, I need my person. And you can let the person who was here before go. There's going to be a lot of that sussing out the assistant coach staff for next year. Mike's saying trading next year's pick signals that next year we're going to hold for now and try with the older guys. There you go. Mike sees the signs and he's opened up his eyes to the signs. Nothing's going to give you up than you belong. Cool Cat saying Pascal, Fred, OG careers are not linked together. Individually, they will be assessed. They are only linked as young vets from the chip team. That's right. And the time accrued and synergy does come into like factoring it, thinking about it, but also they're all individuals and they can all go in different directions in different ways. And we need to be possibly ready for one of them to go somewhere this summer, but hopefully not. Hopefully all three of them will be Raptors next season. Fiercey saying, Pass the Rock with Scotty Barnes is out on YouTube's NBA channel. Check it out. All right, y'all. A media alert. Pass the Rocks with Scotty Barnes is out on YouTube channel for the NBA. Check it out. We knew it was coming out, and thanks for the heads up, Fiercey. Cool Cat saying Dillon Brooks is our Serge Ibaka team protector in some way. He's not big enough and strong enough. Steven Adams is the team protector on the Grizzlies. He's more like the mouthy little mouthpiece that may not be able to stand up to guys and fight them. He may be writing checks for people like Jakob Poeltl to have to cash. And I wouldn't describe him as our Serge Ibaka. He's not necessarily that role. Tom Duke saying, good morning. I was the first to vote in the community pool. Let's get Dillon. Any available Canadian. Maybe not actually if I ponder it a bit. It's funny. All right, so let's see. You guys are voting in the poll in the community. Let's see how you guys are voting. All right, for Dillon, 64% so far. 36% against Dillon. Okay, very interesting. All right, let me see. Can I vote? They won't let me vote. I'm not allowed to vote, though. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke saying, trust in Masai, and the new coach should be involved in choices. Yes, that just makes sense. And especially if they want to shape the team and have any say on personnel that they want, for sure. Nameless saying, I think Masai moves away from Pascal and Fred and uses Barnes and OG and Jalen Green as a focal point. All right, maybe. Amit likes my joke about offender. Yeah, that's pretty good. If there's a defender, wouldn't there be an offender, right? There's no offenser. It's offender. You are the offender. Okay, I'll be the defender. Isaac saying, Canadians are skewing the poll. Damn those Canadians. Hey, listen, if most of the votes are by Canadians in our poll, that should be it. We're voting on a Canadian in Canada for Canada's team. It should be Canadian. 100% Canadian. Canadian heritage moment. The Canadian heritage moment, yes. Shane saying Dillon Brooks may be a dog, but he has a little dog syndrome. All bark and no bite. I'll pass on him. Thanks. See, there we go. All right, somebody. Finally, Shane Waters coming in saying he passes on that because he says he's got little dog syndrome. He's a yap, but he really can't back it up at the dog park. And that St. Bernard comes sit on him. Yeah, Tom Duke is laughing about it. Nameless saying, however, I can't see the Raptors moving on from Fred. I just don't see it. I don't see it either. I really don't see it. I don't see it for a couple of reasons. I don't see it from the management, and I don't see it from Fred himself. And those are really the key people that matter in this situation is Fred and Masai. And these guys love each other, and they want them to be together still. They're working so hard together. It's like, what the fuck are we going to do? We're going to get rid of Fred and Nick Nurse this summer? That will make our team so much different all of a sudden. So much different. And the linkages to our championship will really pretty much be gone, other than Pascal, if he's the only one left. So, yeah, we got to be really, really careful and tread lightly when you're talking about Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam getting traded from the Raptors this summer. We really got to be careful because we're getting further and further away from any linkages to our championship year in 2019. MSJ saying, I think what's going to happen is that Gary Trent Jr. leaves and the Raptors try for a shooting guard in the draft. I really don't see major moves. Yak was the big move for next season. Yeah, we need to make sure we tie up Yak with the contract this summer work on all these contracts with people like Fred and Pascal and OG maybe, and maybe we do get a big player come back. Once again, Otto Porter Jr. hopefully will be back, and that'll be an upgrade, something we didn't see this past season. There could be a lot of different ways that we get better without doing a whole lot. And everybody will be like, wow, how the fuck did the Raptors get better? They didn't really change their team other than their coach. How did they get better? Well, I guess the coach really was a big problem. Let's see. Randolph Phillips is saying, Lex, if Brooks was in the deal that Masai said would still be there this summer, well, he's right. Now the price is even lower. There you go. Exactly. Masai said at trade deadline, I can make these moves in the summer, and maybe it'll be different. He's exactly right. The value of Dillon Brooks is lowered over this season, and he may be a little more desperate to get another team just in case because he's in limbo, and his price may be way, way better this summer. But once again, I don't know if he fits with us. I really don't think he does. Trevor's saying the Raptors need to hire a lethal shooter to help the Raptors guys with their three-point shots. They will improve. They did earlier this season. He came in and did a workshop with the Raptors for a little bit a couple months ago. So he has been around the Raptors this season, but maybe not enough. That's for sure. Let's see. Isaac saying CB and DB, homegrown Canadian buds. Hello, nasty, and hello, bonjour. Hello, nasty. Yeah, get that Beastie Boys reference in there somehow, some way. CBDB. CBDB? What are you trying to do? Homegrown. Isaac Campbell, you know what? For your wittiness and you're tying in of cannabis culture, you tied in cannabis culture with wittiness, with the CBDB. You're getting a dunk for creativity. That is definitely creative. I like that. Let's see. Nameless is saying, so the exact thing that this team lacks is Jalen Green. You're not interested in even entertaining? Just more of the same. Got it. Again, we must agree to disagree. I just don't like Jalen Green in particular. Like, I'm very much an individual judgment guy. Like, I look at a player and I say, well, would this guy get me to a championship or not? I don't like Jalen Green. I don't think he's ever going to win a championship in his career. He's an undersized guard that relies on athleticism. He sounds like Russell Westbrook to me. And that's what I'm saying. I don't like those kind of players. He's going to have, maybe he has injury issues or something. Not that I wish them on him, but he's going to change as a player maybe early in his career where he may not be as good all of a sudden because he relies so much on his athleticism. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, you don't want those kind of players. And it's a personal thing in some ways. I've watched him play and I'm like not that impressed with him. I know that he's a really good scorer and he can do certain things, but I've seen these kind of players and they don't add up to winning championships. And that's why I'm not interested in them. I want guys that add our blocks towards championships like Jakob Poeltl, like Masai said. And I don't think Jalen Green's one of those kind of players. Unfortunately, I may be very wrong and I get proven wrong down the road. And maybe somebody like Scotty wouldn't like me saying something like that about his friends, but I don't give a shit. I've watched how he plays. And in some ways, he epitomizes the problems with what the NBA has problems with going in the future. And I'm not, we can disagree on this. You can think that Jalen Green's so great and all this stuff, and that's fine. But I don't. And I don't want him on the Raptors, even if he's super, super talented. We will agree to disagree. Jody White is here. Good to see Jody. It's been a little bit. Always happy to see Jody White step in and say hi to us. Inside Dillon knows he's got a little carried away. Give him another chance in Toronto. Hardcore defender and not quite the bad shooter he showed this year. This is your house, Dillon. Laugh out loud. So Jody is on the pro Dillon side for sure. Y'all definitely check out this poll that I put up. If you haven't voted already, there is a poll that I have put up in the Raptors Freak community on my YouTube channel. Would you want to get Dillon Brooks on this team or not? And make your vote count. And I want to see what we're at the end of this stream and see where the results are at. Smooth saying, the longer this coaching search takes, the less likely I think the favored candidates will be hired. Watch Toronto make an out of left field hire. I have a feeling. It could very well be like that. It could be there's somebody like I'm hearing a new name, this guy Young, who's with the Nuggets, I think. There's a couple new names that just came into the mix recently. I'm going to go look at this guy a little bit more, but there's a lot of, we'll see. And they're not going to rush on this. In fact, I fully expect them to make this decision. All right. We said the draft lottery is in the 16th. Oh, man. I think that they're not going to make the decision by the draft lottery. I think that we're going to get this decision in late May. In the last 2 weeks of May, we'll get a coach then. I don't think he's going to do it very fast. I think that we're going to go a couple weeks. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Mike is saying, I will say Brooks was a good 3-and-D at Oregon, but in the NBA, he's been up and down offensively. Yeah, he's had really good offensive games. In fact, he killed us that one game where he owned our house. It was like Jody said, this is our house. This is my house. And if he's on our team, he can give us our house back. But, the different levels of college to the NBA, some things just don't translate. And there's some things about Dillon that just aren't the same as when he was in Oregon. Name was saying, wow, okay, Lex, now I understand your opinion on Jalen Green a little better. Thanks for explaining that one. No problem, man. It's just, in some ways, I have character types or like player types in my head. When I see them, I'm like, this guy he can get a championship because he's that kind of like building block towards the championship. And in some ways, Jalen Green is like a Stephon Marbury. He's kind of like an Allen Iverson. And those guys are selfish guys. They have to have high volume shots. They have to shoot a lot, first of all. And often they're not very good percentage wise. Like he may shoot like 30 shots a game and make like 12 of them. And I don't want any high volume guys that aren't very efficient. And in some ways, that's what Jalen Green is. He's a high volume guy that isn't very efficient. And along the lines of like a Stephon Marbury or an Allen Iverson, those kind of players. And that's why I don't need him. In some ways, I'd much rather have Gary Trent in some ways. Once again, I'd rather have Gary Trent over people. Let's see. David's saying, I don't agree to disagree. JG is the nuts. I'm not leaving until you agree. They won't hire anyone until the season is over. Until the championship is all done and done up in a bow. I don't know if that's true, David. We may see somebody get hired like at some point, maybe in the finals or not in the finals or the Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals around that time. I'll bet because those higher teams that get to really far, they're not going to fire people at certain levels. So it's like you got to really see who loses in the second round, and then maybe like you hire somebody during the conference finals. That's what I'm thinking. Infamous is saying, salute freaks. He's a wing. We have an abundance of wings. Yes. We don't need him. Too much of a distraction. There is no demand for him. This is all propaganda by his agent. There you go. I'm with it. Infamous is actually right exactly where I'm at. We have a ton of wings. We have a ton of players that play his position. In fact, they're taller. They're more skilled. They're better all-around players than him. Why the fuck would we carve time from them, the guys we're trying to progress, by bringing him in? He won't play. He wouldn't play on this team. Yeah, I'd rather give the minutes for OG, Scotty, Precious, those guys, than give the minutes to Dillon. So it doesn't make any sense. The abundance of wings makes him unnecessary to come to this team. And I'm exactly with Infamous on this. Coolcat saying 29 teams with lots of players will be available this summer. Masai said it. He was right. We have tons of options to retool our team. Yeah, we're going to take be more patient, and let things happen. As things happen, maybe opportunities will come and they'll jump on them right there. David's saying high volume guy and not very efficient. Fred VanVleet, Pascal rings a bell. Well, listen, they can be efficient though. It's a night by night basis. There's very often there's been nights where Pascal has been right under 50% or over 50% or at 50%. That's where I really look at it. There's a person able to have a game where they shoot 45% or higher on a regular basis. Yes, both of those guys can do that. That difference is that Jalen Green may come out there and he'll have one game like that every like 5 games. And then the rest of the games will be like 13 for 30 or something like that. So, that's what I'm saying. You may think that Fred and Pascal are what I just described, but they're not. They very much get limited if they're not shooting well. Now, meanwhile, in Houston, they've leaned so heavy on Jalen Green for scoring that he can have really inefficient nights regularly and build up bad habits because they don't have any fucking else to score, that they have to rely on him. So that's part of it also, is that he's getting high volume regardless, no matter what, and he's learning bad habits. And we don't necessarily need that. If he came here, he wouldn't get as many shots. He wouldn't be as effective, and we wouldn't get as much out of him as Houston is down there. I don't want Jalen Green to come here because in some ways he demands to be the number one option, and he's not a good number one option. And I don't want to take away from Scotty and Pascal if Jalen Green is here. It just doesn't make any sense to want to develop him over those guys. I'd much rather develop Scotty than Jalen Green. So there's a couple of different reasons here. There's a little bit difference. Mike saying W stream. I appreciate that, Mike. Name was saying this is why Thursdays are always my favorite days. The think tank. It's about the think tank. Monique saying I'm glad you're very high on my opinion on Dillon. W stream, Lex. Let's go Raptors. Let's always keep at it. Of course, Monique, when your opinions are most often very like mine, and I do appreciate that. We have a very similar mindset when it comes to the Raptors, because in the end of all things, Monique and I just want the best for the Raptors. We want to win. We want to get better and better. And when our heart's in the right place, we usually have the same opinions. So yeah, I'm with you on this. I think it's just too risky to get Dillon, and it's not really a good reward if we does work out. It's like it's not exactly what we need. Let me keep going with stuff that's going on around to talk about. We have a little bit of Instagram from Ron Harper Jr. at a poolside in Boca Raton. So we see that Ron Harper Jr. is in Florida himself. So a little check with him from Instagram. We see what's going on with him. Of course, Thaddeus is really promoting all of his companies like Reform Transportation, and then championing and celebrating his kids in the youth leagues that he coaches, Thaddeus Young. Real quick, the referees for tonight: Lakers at Golden State, game number 2. Warriors at home. Tony Brothers, Eric Lewis, and Pat Frere are the referees. All 3 of the referees favor the Golden State Warriors tonight. So they should be trying to even up the series with the Lakers. And they can't have the Lakers win 2 games in a row at Golden State's home court. That will not be good. So I'm going to guess right now that Tony Brothers and his crew are going to be very much guiding and helping the Warriors beat the Lakers to even the series tonight. So there's your ref report for tonight. And then, let's see what the poll is saying right now at this point. Our poll is now 50-50 for Dillon and against Dillon. We have exactly 50% votes, 7 votes for Dillon, 7 votes against Dillon in the poll. So keep voting. If you haven't voted yet, there's a poll in the community of the Raptor Street channel, and we'll see where that poll goes to. Infamous is saying Green is super talented, but lacks the work ethic needed for this team. And that's the thing. The dude is absolutely amazing, like a freakish athlete. So good in certain ways, but in some ways, who he's similar to me is Ja Morant. That those guys are kind of similar players, but there's something a little bit different about Ja than Jalen. There's some things I like about Ja that I don't like about Jalen, but they're very similar kind of players. But this very dangerous going up in the air and getting so high up like those two do, and getting knocked out of the air. This is the thing I worry about for Ja Morant. Is that he's going to have a shortened career because of his choice to elevate the way he does, and the way people are just like dirty hitting people out of the air like that. It's so dangerous. And that's part of the reason why he was hurt in the playoffs with his wrist, is because of dirty hits in the air. So players like Jalen Green and Ja Morant in some ways are putting themselves at risk because they're such amazing high flyers. Now, if the NBA would protect them, and it's kind of like the NFL protects quarterbacks, that would be good. Because in some ways, people come to see them do this kind of stuff, and we don't want to see goons just knocking them out of the air or making them not want to do that kind of shit because they're getting hurt. So protect the high flyers, NBA. Stop the undercutting. Stop the problems with people like getting in the way and causing very, very risky, very kind of scary, damaging possible injuries by hitting guys out of the air when they're providing ultimate entertainment for the fans. We love seeing the high flyers. Do you want to discourage them from being high flyers? Well, then stop letting guys undercut them and start fucking calling really bad fouls on the people that do that kind of stuff. Because that is something about this. Like, I want to watch Jalen Green. I want to watch him in a dunk contest. I don't necessarily want to watch him in an NBA game. Fiercey saying, I'm still bummed we're not in the playoffs. Watching some teams play, and we would have been solid opponents, but we'll be back next season. Well, we just got to be that much better. In some ways, we got to game the new NBA by being more like old school teams If we're learning anything from these playoffs, is the old heads and the old way of doing things beats the new way and the new people that are doing things. That's why Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Draymond Green, these guys are killing it in the playoffs, is because the old mentality beats the new young mentality, and that we need more of that old mentality, that old school kind of idea of being like the Pistons with Ben Wallace, or being like the Bulls with Michael Jordan. We need that kind of mentality and leadership in the way we carry ourselves with our team overall, with the new coach and the personnel on our team. The more the Raptors can be more old school in those kind of ways, the more successful we'll be in the postseason. That's just how it is. You got to have an attitude like Jimmy Butler if you want to win in the NBA playoffs. So why even fucking build your team with a bunch of young athletes that are young and don't really know what they're doing? Go get these guys like PJ Tucker and Marcus Smart. These are the guys that win championships. Excuse me. All right. Yeah, I'm bummed about us not making the playoffs, but in some ways we needed this. We need this time for our players to be pissed off and not be playing right now. These guys don't like this. We don't like it. And well, you don't like it, you change it for next year. Monique is saying Ron's been working out lately too. Yeah, Ron, it's good to see Ron enjoying his life and doing what he does. And I'm excited to see Ron Harper Jr. in his second year and what's possible with the new coach. Yeah, David's saying he's still in the league. Green also plays zero defense. That's another part of it. Is I very much value defensive play, and I don't want some guy who's going to like get 50, but he's going to give up 50 also on the other end. You got to have somebody who can score and stop people. And that's part of the problem with Houston is they don't have good defense, partly because their main best player is not a very good defender. Infamous coming in with the facts. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, let me wrap it up, y'all. It's in an hour and a half. Dillon Brooks' agent is calling out Shams as being a leader of spreading false news and attacking players. Why any player in the league talks to this guy blows his mind. And he's saying that that this is not true. What they said, that under no circumstances report. So it's bullshit. He's calling out Shams for being a liar. We talked extensively today about Dillon Brooks and whether he would fit on the Toronto Raptors next season if we went and got him. And a lot of us are kind of like, There's a new Instagram story by Pascal that just got posted 39 minutes ago. It is a rap song, it looks like. It was a basically it was a rap battle. Pascal's posting rap battles in his Instagram story all of a sudden. Isaac Campbell saying risk and reward is in the details of the contract. How low risk could be a short term contract. Brooks could redeem himself for a longer contract. Traditional free agent market is dead. Risk reward is Messiah. That's an interesting way of putting it, Isaac. But once again, where are we lining up with what Dillon wants? Dillon may be really unrealistic with what he wants to get paid. And that may be part of the whole problem with him coming here too, is that like we would do it for this little price, but he may be like, I want this much. And Mark Cuban in Dallas will pay me this much. That may be part of it too, is that in some ways our resources to bring him here, we may not want to put too much resources into it. Whereas somebody like Mark Cuban in Dallas may be like, yeah, we want to put that, and they outbid us. Because in some ways, we don't want to be like, if we're sitting at a poker table and our hand's not that good for like why we would want to do it, we may like fold before other teams that are very, very much more interested in him than us. Because we've already determined the need for him on our team isn't that great. And it may be a lot greater on other teams that have more money available to pay him more. So that may be a huge factor in what happens with Dillon Brooks this summer also. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching the Raptor Freak channel. Tomorrow we'll do a Friday freak out. May not be very long, and maybe just a little short one tomorrow. We'll see how long it is. And then Saturday, Share the Love Club, Jeff Doughton Jr. We're going to give Jeffrey his Share the Love Club on Saturday. So come and celebrate the great two-way player from this past season, Jeffrey Doughton Jr., and all the qualities and things we like about this guy, and how we're glad that he's probably going to be back next season. So that's our schedule for the next couple of days. Friday freak out tomorrow. Jeff Doughton Jr. Share the Love Club on Saturday. So yeah, thanks guys. Isaac saying W stream, but Canadians come home. Bring him home. Bring him home. Well, we'll see. Maybe he doesn't want to come home. It could very well be also that Dillon doesn't want to play for Toronto because of some of the home issues, as I said. That maybe he doesn't want to be here. Maybe he wants to be away. Who knows? We'll see how it all goes. We just have to be here and watch and see how things progress. Hopefully, we'll get a very good head coach, and we'll go from there. All right, y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I appreciate everybody for being here today. And let's go Raptors. We'll see if we get Dillon Brooks. I don't know.